There's been this totally unexpected power shift. We've got this quiet, safety-obsessed company that's kind of come out of nowhere to challenge the undisputed king. So yeah, let's get right into this incredible story. And this isn't just some boring corporate rivalry. No, this one's personal. On one side, you've got Sam Altman from OpenAI, and on the other, Dario Amodei of Anthropic. I mean, these guys were colleagues, building the future side by side, but now they're such fierce competitors that at a recent event, they literally couldn't even bring themselves to hold hands for a group photo. So what on earth happened there?
I mean, just a little while ago, OpenAI completely owned the enterprise AI market. It wasn't even a competition. But look at this projection for 2025. It's a total reversal. Anthropic is now set to surge to a 40% market share, while OpenAI drops down to 27%. So the big question is, how did the underdog manage to pull this off? Well, to figure that out, we've got to follow the money. Okay, so let's start here. Back in 2023, Anthropic's revenue was, a respectable $100 million. Not earth-shattering, but solid. At this point, though, they were still way in OpenAI's shadow. But then, just 1 year later, things absolutely explode. Their projected revenue leaps by 10 times, up to $1 billion. Now, that kind of growth is just incredible. But honestly, it's nothing compared to what happens next. And boom, here we are, a projected $10 billion in 2025. That is a staggering 100-fold increase in revenue in just 3 years. Some analysts are even saying Anthropic is on track to become the most profitable AI company in the world. So how did they do it? The key here isn't just a better product. It's a completely different philosophy. So to really get what Anthropic is all about, you have to understand its founder, Dario Amodei. His journey, and this really personal tragedy, is actually the key to unlocking the company's entire strategy. So if you look at his path, it becomes pretty clear that Dario Amodei was not your typical Silicon Valley coder. I mean, while his peers were all out chasing the next big internet startup, he was busy diving deep into the fundamental laws of the universe. He was a physicist and a neuroscientist by training, so he came to AI from a totally different angle. Not as a programmer, but as a scientist, asking some really different questions about how technology was going to impact all of us. And then in 2006, a personal tragedy just changed everything for him. His father passed away from a really rare form of leukemia. And just tragically, only a few years later, a breakthrough drug was developed that completely transformed the survival rate for that exact same disease, from 50% all the way up to 95%. The thought that his father could have been saved if science had just moved a little bit faster, well, it set Dario on a whole new mission, to build technology that could safely speed up scientific progress, so that hopefully no one else would have to suffer a similar fate. And it was this mission that put him on a direct collision course with his bosses back at OpenAI. See, he was a core part of the team that built GPT-2 and GPT-3, but he and Sam Altman had this fundamental disagreement about how you handle technology that's this powerful. Okay, so think of it like this. OpenAI's philosophy, which was really led by Altman, was basically to release the drug to the public as fast as possible. Use that massive scale to find and fix the problems as they come up. But Amodei saw it completely differently. To him, you had to run all the rigorous safety trials first. You make absolutely sure it's safe before you release it, even if that means a competitor gets to market ahead of you. This wasn't just a small disagreement, you guys. This was an irreconcilable difference that led to one of the biggest walkouts in the history of AI. So in 2021, Dario and 6 of his core colleagues walked out of OpenAI to build something different. And I don't just mean a different AI. They wanted to build a different kind of company, one that was founded on stability and safety in an industry that's pretty much defined by chaos. And when I say chaos, I really mean it. Just look at the competition. Half of Elon Musk's co-founders at xAI, gone. And over at OpenAI, only 3 of the original 11 founding members are even still there. We're talking about giants in the field, people like Andrei Karpathy and Ilya Sutskever, who all just walked away because of all the drama and infighting. But now, look at Anthropic. It's a totally different story. 7 co-founders started the company together, and they shared the equity almost equally. 5 years later, not a single one has left. 0. That level of stability is, well, it's practically unheard of in Silicon Valley. And it was all by design. And a huge part of that stability comes from this really simple but powerful rule, which was put in place by Dario's sister and co-founder Daniela Amodei.
See, from her experience scaling the startup Stripe, she knew that one toxic genius can absolutely destroy a team. So at Anthropic, it literally doesn't matter how brilliant you are. If you're not a good collaborator, you don't get hired. End of story. And that just created this incredible culture of trust and focus.
Okay, so they had a strong mission, a stable team, but how did they turn that into a business that could actually take on a giant like OpenAI? Well, they did something brilliant. They transformed their core philosophy of safety from just some abstract idea into a killer business feature.
Because for these huge corporations, AI safety isn't just some vague marketing slogan. It is a bottom line requirement. It means you're minimizing risk, you're complying with all these complex regulations, and you're guaranteeing your data is secure. For banks, for pharmaceutical companies, for insurance giants, this isn't a nice to have, it's the price of entry. And Anthropic built their entire system around these principles right from day one. But the real game changer was a product they built called Claude Code. Now, this wasn't just another coding assistant. No, this was basically a virtual senior engineer. It can literally test its own code, find the errors, and then fix them all by itself. It can understand these massive enterprise-level code bases with all their complex dependencies. And maybe most importantly, it has an incredibly low hallucination rate. So instead of just making stuff up, it actually checks the documentation to make sure its answers are accurate.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from a lead engineer at Google, well, it says it all. A task that took a team of elite engineers a full year to do was replicated by Claude Code in just 1 hour. An hour. This is the kind of efficiency that made Fortune 500 companies stop what they were doing and pay very close attention. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the fundamental difference in their business models that explains everything: Anthropic's meteoric rise and OpenAI's surprising vulnerability. So OpenAI primarily focuses on consumers, right? Most of its revenue comes from those $20 a month subscriptions. Anthropic, on the other hand, just completely ignored the consumer market and went all in on enterprise, securing these huge corporate contracts. And now, look at that last row. The average value of a user for OpenAI is $20. For Anthropic, it's over $200,000. That right there is the core of their entire strategy. So this chart really shows how heavily OpenAI relies on a massive number of pretty low-value consumer subscriptions. It's a high-volume, low-margin game. People basically use it like a super-powered search engine, and there's a definite limit to what you can charge for that.
And now here's the contrast. Anthropic's revenue is completely dominated by these high-value enterprise contracts. I mean, when a bank integrates Claude into its core systems, they're not just a subscriber anymore. They are a deeply embedded partner. The cost to switch is massive. So while OpenAI was chasing 1 billion free users, Anthropic was quietly locking in the most valuable customers in the world.
Anthropic's success really wasn't an accident. It was the result of a super-focused strategy, a stable culture, and this deeply held belief that safety isn't a bug, but maybe the most important feature of all. And it really all comes down to this single question. In what is maybe the most important technological race in human history, does the winner get there the fastest, or do they get there the safest?